Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is the June 13th meeting of the Board of Sewer Commissioners. We're starting with a workshop, and we'll be going into the meeting from there. Call the workshop to order. Can I have a roll call?
Peter Dunlop, present.
Sandy Slavin.
Jim Gibberti present. So we have a quorum. 3. First item for discussion on is the moratorium. It's 3 items here. Eliminate the moratorium altogether, or selectively allow additional hookups, and this will be applicable to residential only. So the suggestion has been raised that we can eliminate the moratorium with the work that's been done and the management that's existing now at the plant would allow for us to eliminate this moratorium. Now, discussion?
I'd like to hear from Scott. I mean, to me, I don't know, I think it's up to say whether or not you feel we can lift this moratorium, regardless of who comes before us.
Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
So currently the plant's receiving about 1 million gallons a day. I think we're still receiving a significant amount of infiltration inflow. We still see it during rainstorms. However, at present time, the capacity of the plant allows about 500,000 gallons of flow to come in addition to meet to get up to our permit. 1.2 million, 200,000 gallons more than we're receiving now would get us closer to that 80% mark. Once we hit the 80% mark, we would have had to go through all the work that's already been completed under the CWMP to allow us to continue to operate at 80% or greater. The only way we're going to be able to keep up with the needs of the plant and the infrastructure needs of the town is to allow the moratorium to go away and allow for the system to add users. And a lot of these users are going to be from areas that were designated to be sewered previously. This also leans itself towards the other study that was done by the Buzzards Bay Commission EPA regarding the, sorry, I can't think of the term right now, but the amount of nitrate going into rivers from septic systems that are existing. The only way to get the nitrate out of those rivers that have septic systems is to sewer those houses. And again, some of those areas were already designated to be sewered. It just hasn't been completed yet. So the system can handle it. The funds required to keep the system operating properly are needed. So the volume is there, and the need for the additional revenue through the tie-in fees and everything else is required to really move the plant in the direction it's going to need to go. Because after this, there's another step that we have to make.
So how much additional flow can we approve and not impact that 80%, knowing that you're getting rid of I&I constantly? Is there a limit we should say that our moratorium is lifted until we reach a particular level or capacity?
So, again, that 80% level is for 90 days in a row.
90 days, okay, so that's hard to do. I mean,
it's hard to do. And beyond that, when you talk about flow, okay, we kind of touched on it regarding Title V. Title V is the requirement to design a field for X amount of potential flow from a household. So 3 bedrooms, 330 gallons. So if you're talking about expected gallons per Title V, then again, that's the expected flow versus what we actually get. So in other words, what we have at the plant that we're receiving right now is what's considered the aggregate, what we actually get. So once we add this additional flow, being who's hooking in, you're not going to see one house go in and instantly 330 gallons. It's more likely to be half that, maybe even 30%. So, you know, I think it's for the betterment of the town to allow for these, again, the users that are on these impacted waterways to tie in.
We had a large list of approved sewer projects from April 22. Has the gallons that are available included this particular list, or this flow is not considered, it's not in the plant now? Should we consider what we've already approved against this flow that you're going to say we could handle? Are you saying we could handle almost 400,000 gallons a day?
In
More.
addition, yeah.
Well, I heard maybe 500,000 gallons a day, but then we have this list.
Now, again, your list has development and expected gallons, correct?
Yes,
That's 200,000 gallons, if I'm not mistaken,
Oh.
somewhere around there.
I think much more. If I can make Littleton Drive is almost 16,000. What do we have here? Sandwich Road, the assisted living is just 10,000.
Well, regardless, it was.
It's Woodland Cove is 32,000, so there's a lot of gallons on here.
But
In
it's stuck in-
consideration of this, it's, I think we had a discussion yesterday with GHG just before we even put this up, or maybe it was Tuesday. Was it Tuesday? Anyway,
I guess they,
we discussed it, and, you know, I think it is somewhere around 200, 250,000, somewhere.
Okay.
Regardless, the point is, that's design flow. You might only see 75,000 gallons worth of that, of actual flow, actual
Okay.
aggregate.
This is potential maximum.
Correct.
That's what this is, potential maximum, and we really don't see the maximum. So if the plant can take 500,000 gallons a day.
More than it is
Well,
right now.
Okay. And this is maybe 200,000 gallons at maximum.
Yeah,
You're saying that we could accommodate a 300,000 more maximum flow if we lift the moratorium?
he's,
I mean, just round numbers. so-
round numbers, yes.
yeah,
And we have nowhere near that request coming in.
correct.
Correct.
Basically, what we're saying, you take that 200,000 you're sitting with over there, Sandy, you take the versus the 500,000 that Scott just mentioned, you get a 300,000 differential, but going back to that 200,000 now, that is the maximum
Yes.
potential. And according to Scott, and he's probably correct because we know from Title V, that's probably true, probably half of that 200, if that all came online tomorrow, would be the maximum we probably would wind up receiving, physically receiving.
Correct.
So you still gotta, I would suggest
Because
that
on,
we're probably sitting with 100,000 cushion between the 300 and the 500.
because it is 100,000 for the Bourne on here to accommodate the
What they still,
Scenic Park.
the scenic park.
well, that's already, that's not an addition, that's.
No, this is in our list.
That's what's already included in what's been authorized to Bourne to start with.
Yes.
So that's not new.
No, I'm not saying
Okay.
it's part of this 200,000 that's, I did not take a calculator to this, but
Oh, it's okay.
I'm thinking probably 250,000.
Yeah,
But
We'll
the
go with that.
idea is, it's still, are we saying that we really do have a cushion of about 200,000 we can, without any question, allocate?
Yes.
So,
Can you safely say that going into the summer season?
Yeah.
With all of the summer people coming?
I believe we can. I've not seen a huge increase over the years that I've been
Yeah,
here.
but they're just getting out of school, so.
Oh, I know, I'm just saying, in the years that I've seen, that I have been here during the summer to operate, and I was only there on the weekends, the worst days, we didn't see a huge increase over where we are right now.
So you're comfortable with us lifting the moratorium?
to a maximum of 200,000?
Well, I think
300.
we lift it and we watch what happens. So again, I mean, are we gonna suddenly get some sort of industry in here that wants to crank out a lot of flow? We might have to think about that. But as far as bringing residents in and tying in people that should be tied in, TMDL, that was the thing I was thinking of. So to address the TMDL issues on our impacted waterways, we bring the flow to the plant, allow people to tie in, stop having people put these expensive systems in that, frankly, we would have to mothball anyway down the road. They would still have to tie in.
But if they have sewer available, they're not allowed to put in a septic system.
So there are places where the sewer line is near them or adjacent to them, but they don't have a stub, and under the current conditions, we can't allow them to tie in.
Because we did not account for that stub. So you're talking about for those 4 homes being built next to the elementary school, they were putting in septic systems because they would not be allowed to tie to us because of the moratorium. By lifting the moratorium, we really are saying to them, connect to our force main, and,
Well, that's the other
That's
thing.
another
well, we
story.
put force main,
That's a separate story. That's a separate discussion. Force main is a
How
separate
they tie
discussion.
in is a separate discussion. That they should
That's
tie
right.
in
they should tie in,
is
Just-
the discussion. But
Okay.
how they do it,
because we let all those houses on Minot Ave come into a force main.
I agree, and
Okay, so that's another
I
discussion.
would have done it differently.
But-
That's, like I said,
But
another
here,
That's a separate-
those 4 homes there should tie some way into the sewer line so they don't create 4 brand-new Title Vs that have to be abandoned in 5 years.
correct.
Okay. There aren't, I'm not aware of, we have a list of those properties on empty lots in our Seward area that has a stub. We have that list. We have a list of everybody that has a stub that hasn't tied in yet. We have that, and that's always been accommodated.
Everything with the stub has been accounted for within
And
what we have.
whether there's a home there or not, it's been
Exactly,
accounted
it's been
for.
accounted for.
So, but it's, the idea is, are there homes that are being built close to our sewer lines that we did not have a stub? And the answer is yes, we got those 4 next to the elementary school.
Next, on Minot Avenue?
Yeah.
When you're talking ones across the street on the
Yeah.
Snow and Jones side?
Regardless,
No, the
I've had
ones
requests,
that built- They took the hill down.
there's
They
been
haven't put
requests
anything
from
in
many
yet.
locations.
I'm sorry, Jimmy, what?
They haven't put anything there yet.
I know, their plan is to put in 4 septic systems because of our moratorium.
There's only 4 homes going in there?
Yes,
Wow.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of houses proposed with plans from engineering companies on how to tie into our sewer. And we couldn't allow it because although they were close enough, adjacent to our gravity line, and could safely tie into one of our manholes, we had the moratorium, we couldn't allow it.
so that's like 15 Narrows.
I can't
That
tell you
has no,
exactly.
well, it just,
Okay.
that house going on in 15 that has no stub, and they're going to go down to Oak Hill to connect.
Okay.
It's on the Narrows, so that's one of the homes I know that it's on our list that we never had a stub there for.
The bottom line is, we have capacity, we could lift the moratorium on residential units at the present time. Would that be a safe
I think that would be very safe.
assumption?
Yeah.
We mean
Any commercial expansion would be under discussion at the time it appears.
so residential includes the 40B developments.
Yes. Because we don't have a choice on those anyhow.
Do we have to, think about any of the areas that we should be expanding to before we go giving up the moratorium completely? I mean, I saw a report there the other day about all the shell fishing that they're wanting to close. And they're talking about runoffs from the rivers. Now, I don't know how much of that is human waste. In fact, that was one of the questions that the people were asking in that discussion group. But did you see that report? It was online. And Corinne gave us,
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Corinne gave the plant a very good rating.
Wareham's going to be held responsible for all the nitrogen coming down our rivers that flow from Plymouth down to us. Every place that has a cesspool, every place that has a nitrogen-reducing Title V, all flows to the water, and Wareham will be held responsible if that nitrogen level is at such a peak. But right now, they're testing the waters to see if we should close all shellfish in our area, like they have in the New Bedford, Mattapoisett,
Yes, that's the
Westport. So, but that's because the plant in New Bedford discharged undertreated nitrogen water because it's linked to their stormwater flow. So they got overtaken by the big rainstorms.
But the point I'm getting to, Sandy, is say we were to bring the sewer system out to a whole new area up along the Agawam. Do we have to figure for that in the moratorium?
I think that's discussed when we get close to whether or not we're going to sewer what's in the old drive-in area. You mean that area? That used to be the drive-in?
That's
Jimmy's
one
shaking
area.
his head no. Because-
That's one of, now you're getting into a whole different realm of discussion. We're here for the moratorium itself.
Well, I was trying to answer
We're not worried
Peter.
about hooking up new places right now.
Peter's asked the
That's-
question.
But
That's not on the agenda.
it does bear on the moratorium, Jimmy. If in fact they decided that we had let's say we had to continue the Agawam Beach, that was one of the 3 that was supposed to be done. Do we have to figure for this before we go releasing the moratorium completely? Are we going to be tying in any new
I
areas?
would, well,
The recommendation that if we want to increase the flow from the plant, we need to sewer more areas, and they were talking about that area off of 28 where the old drive-in was. I mean, so they said if you sewer more areas, we can give you a better release point from the plant because you're taking more septic systems and turning them into flows to us. So there, who's to say as we come close to sewering an area, it could very well be a wash that we can take that flow because we can take that input because we can have more output. But I mean, we got a Shangri-La, Glen Charlie, those are critical areas. They're all flowing into that river that's coming down and being tested.
I thought we were forced to do Agawam first.
I don't know where that stands.
That was, well, it
There were
was one
5,
of them.
yeah.
I thought it was just 3.
Well, it was
it was 3 places.
Oakdale,
It was 3 places.
Parkwood.
Parkwood, Oakdale, and Agawam.
Yeah.
Agawam bowed out and managed to get out of it. Parkwood came in on a low ball.
Yeah, but the point is, Jimmy, are we obligated to do Agawam before we do anything else?
I don't know that we're obligated to do any of it. We're requested to do a lot of it. I mean, there's a lot of discussion
but-
coming down, but
all right.
and if we're gonna do something on additional sewerage, It would have, it seemed to me, it would really depend on which one became the most economically feasible to do first.
I couldn't agree with you more. I just didn't know if we were bound to do
I
Agawam.
don't believe so.
Okay, that's what, the point I was getting
Don't
at.
believe so.
So, I guess what I'm saying is, can we conditionally lift the moratorium so that we keep a little bit more reserve in case we have to get into these other areas? Or will it balance out the way you described
Well,
it, Sandy?
I believe if we lift the moratorium on residential, if you take a look at each building coming in, you're looking at 330 gallons per three-bedroom house. There would take a lot of those in order to get to this 200,000 that we're looking at. So I would tend to think lifting the moratorium for residential is something I don't think we're at risk of overflowing to the plant.
I would tend to agree.
You
What-
agree with that?
Yeah.
How you feel about that, Jim?
I totally agree. I've been wrapping this one around quite a
Do you
bit.
have anything to say about this?
Thank God she's here and not Mark.
For the record, Sarah Greenberg, GHD. Yeah, so everything you guys are saying makes sense so far. You know, the director has indicated that that there's this buffer of about 500,000 to the permit of what they're seeing now. And to your point, yes, raising the moratorium for residential properties is something that they're comfortable doing, and the reasons you've all laid out are very sensical. Yeah. I'll just, is it okay if I just stay here? Yeah.
Stay there.
I noticed this is just a discussion, not a vote?
The vote will take place in the meeting later on.
Okay. But we're all pretty comfortable then with lifting it for residential only?
I think the motion will be that we lift the moratorium for residential, then we go through and approve
You're
the
okay with that?
sites. Then we go through and approve the sites that have made an application to be lifted, and that, we'll do that in the minutes, in the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Anything more on moratorium at the moment, or do we want to go to EDUs now? So we're going to EDUs. The EDUs are necessary to provide income to operate the plant and maintain it and improve it as necessary. We need to, with the debt that we're experiencing, will be experiencing, we need to increase our revenue. And I think we've probably done that just now, potentially. And we can increase our revenue by either increasing the cost of the EDUs, which I'm not flag waving for, or increase the number of EDUs. Now, you increase the number of EDUs by what we just discussed relative to the moratorium and lifting that and allowing more hookups. That provides more EDUs.
So what are we talking here? Maybe 20 new EDUs?
I
coming?
don't know what we're talking here,
No,
Sandy.
but it's one of
If
those
it's open,
pending.
if it's available, it's available. It's not available till it's available.
Well, there's a tie-in fee,
Yeah,
the sewer.
exactly,
so you get the tie-in
You
fee
gotta have-
followed by the annual EDUs
exactly,
under our existing new EDU schedule.
right.
So I think, like you're saying, we kind of just, if we eliminate the residential moratorium, we address the number of EDUs instead of changing the cost per EDU,
Correct.
which would affect existing users.
If existing users would be affected if we raise the EDUs.
Correct.
Under the proposal would be, with the moratorium proposal, we'd increase the number of EDUs vis-à-vis by allowing additional hookups. And also with the allowance of the change we discussed at the last meeting of establishing an EDU is a 3-bedroom residential home. Anything over 3 bedrooms is a .2 additional, which is the EDU, but that's going forward, that's not retroactive. So anything that's in place currently remains in place. Going forward would be the change.
Now, if you take a look at the sites that have been sewered, there are not a lot of unstubbed properties.
Correct.
There aren't the possibility of adding dozens of EDUs because there is no land to build on that hasn't already been accommodated with a stub. So we're not looking
We've
at,
got 4, not right now, next to the middle
that's
school.
4.
I understand that.
But I'm just saying, there isn't a lot of,
Other land available. I'm sure there's other land available that people can build something onto.
if I take a look at Briarwood, I don't know of any lots, or Hathaway, or Oakdale,
Look at the Cooney
or Parkwood.
property.
Sorry?
Look at the Cooney property
The Cooney?
on Main Street. What happened there?
But those were already stubs that existed. What are you talking about?
How many buildings are up there now?
And we accommodated them already, so there's no new EDU coming, because we already counted them. They're already in there. But
We will have them as income now.
we've had them
Didn't have-
already. There's nothing new. They're up and running, so there's no new
We did
income.
not have them as income. We had them as stubs.
But
Period.
they're up and running, and they're paying their bills
Now they
now,
are.
so it's no new bill coming down the line. But I don't see a lot of brand-new EDUs being created by building residential units in the sites that we have already sewered. There's not a lot of land uncommitted in those areas. Just my opinion.
I, yeah.
If I go down, there's nothing on Narrows that can be built on. There's very little on Minot that can be built on that's not up against the wetlands or railroad tracks or conservation land. Look at Oakdale. I don't think there's any lots in there that could be built on to add to our EDU. Parkwood is all built out. The last house going in already has a stub. There's thinking that we're going to get a lot of revenue by adding
Because it's got a
EDUs.
stub doesn't equate to an EDU until you put something in place.
No, but they've paid for their betterment.
The betterment's been paid for,
Yes.
that's all. Okay, the betterment's been paid for.
But we know that all empty lots with a stub could very well be developed.
So, if I could, a lot of the requests that are coming in are, hey, your last manhole is 400 feet away from my vacant lot up here. I've designed a way,
Okay.
and we'll pay for a way to get down to your manhole. So you're gonna have people outside of the areas we sewered now saying, gosh, I could put a bigger house here if I could get into that sewer system, and they'll pay.
Yeah,
to
but
put
there's
that
not a
line
whole
in.
lot of that, is there?
I
don't
think there's
think-
more, because I was surprised
Maybe a
at how
couple
many
dozen at
requests we've
most.
had. Yeah, but they're there, and they've happened in the last 8 months that I've been here, so I was surprised to see how many there were. I think you met with one gentleman in particular, who'd been in a couple times. He's a very easy way for him to tie in. He's willing to do the work, but I can't let him do it under the current conditions.
Right.
And he's got a vacant lot that he's owned for a couple generations or something like that, or I don't know.
Yeah, long time.
Probably 15 Narrows.
I don't know who it was. I can't remember the fellow's name. Nice guy,
Yeah,
engineer. He has the plan already engineered. He just needs a yes.
And they would tie their neighbor into that line that would go into Oak Hill.
Next thing
Yeah.
you know, you have a daisy chain of people that can tie in.
But, okay, I'm just thinking, even if it was 2 or 3 dozen, that's still not a
Each
whole
one
lot of
those-
income.
Each one of those new ones then would be also an impact fee, not an impact, what the hell's the terminology for it? It's not the betterment, it's
Development.
development fee,
Yep.
so, same numbers, but but it's just a different verbiage.
And I think you'd be surprised at what builders would find vacant land and say, hey, I'll get there, you just gotta give me the tie-in.
Yes, I'm aware of a couple that have asked for building, and they just couldn't put it on the property because of wetlands. You know, so there's a limit to some of those low areas that can be built on. Yeah, okay. Well, all right, is there anything out of this discussion? Just that we've had a discussion.
All right, we don't want to increase the cost per EDU, we just want to increase the number of EDUs.
And
The
by
number of
removing the
EDUs would be-
moratorium, you're going to make that happen.
The number of EDUs will be increased by lifting the moratorium on residential properties.
So you're basing the increase in revenue on additions.
Exactly.
I don't think that's gonna give you much increase in revenue. I mean, it will give you some, absolutely. I don't disagree with that. I just don't think that's going to do you enough good. And I also totally agree with you on the cost of the EDUs, because I think they're obscene now.
So, I mean, this is going to be step one on that whole procedure that we'll have to go through. I mean, we've got to start somewhere with this that makes sense. Okay, anything else? Or do we want to move into the meeting?
Well, what have we decided?
We've decided to, discussion was, there was no discussion on EDU that's going to require a vote. It was
Right.
just a discussion. We are ready to vote on the moratorium when we go into the meeting.
Yeah. So in other words, we're not doing anything with the EDUs at this point.
It was just a discussion point, right, Jimmy? There was no
Yeah.
vote needed on this.
No, it's just, you know,
But, I mean, what's the Reader's Digest version? What have we decided?
We've felt that we'll have increased revenue by lifting the moratorium and getting more EDUs, more buildings, more residentials, and that will be an increase in revenue. Not a lot, but it's an increase in revenue.
yeah, we just say we're not going to
Because
increase
we're
it.
not talking about changing.
You can get more EDUs by going into an area and sewering it.
We're nowhere near that.
Exactly.
No, I mean,
It may be
That's-
forced on us.
Well,
could very well be forced on it when they take a look at the nitrogen that's in the water flowing into Wareham from other sources.
Well,
then we'll pick up the EDUs then.
I think discussing it now was a waste of our time until we have further
Thank you.
down the road. To spend our time on what-ifs is a waste of time.
Yep.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing we basically decided, we're not going to increase the cost of the EDUs. That's not going to happen. Right?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm not going to increase EDU
No.
until I can see actual factual numbers
Right.
as to why we would have to.
Okay.
we just borrowed $9 million. How are we gonna pay it back?
Well, you also, what do you think you have for free cash sitting in our, for our sewer?
I don't know.
What was it, 9 million? 5 million?
Uh,
5 million of free
That has
cash.
to be retained, that has to
Yes.
be there.
That's our retained earnings, so it is
Yeah.
there for development. For projects
Well,
that are not part that we haven't talked about, it's not on the agenda, but we haven't talked about the force main from town to the plant. We have, what, 6 million aside for that, but we don't know what we're gonna do for that project. That's still up in the air, isn't it?
At the moment,
Yeah, so, and that was 6 million.
yep. We're waiting for a final.
I thought when we added in Wantico, we came up to 9.
Well, that's another project for 3.
Right,
They're 2 separate projects.
right.
Yeah. And that's not talking about the plant,
That's not talking about the plant.
which is what, 36 million?
Correct, yeah.
Yes, 18 and 18.
So how are we paying all of this back?
Right now,
I
the
mean, we-
interest is
we
coming
just
out of the
talked
budget.
about 36 and 9, and we got 5. It sounds like my budget.
No, we can't use the retained earnings to pay our interest.
Okay, we're not going to solve that one right now.
Okay, I'll take a motion to close the workshop at 2:36.
Okay, I'll make the motion.
Second.
Yep. Aye, good, 3-0. What time did you say, 2:36? Mm-hmm. Sounds good. Okay, at 2:37, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, and
Peter Dunlop, present.
Sandy Slavin.
Jim Gibberti. Okay, we have minutes, meeting minutes from May 23rd.
I have reviewed them, and they are complete and accurate, and I make a
Oh.
motion, we accept the minutes of May 23rd.
Just a second, please. When we discussed item 6 in the minutes, and we went along with Scott's proposal, I thought that was subject to legal review.
There was another one that was subject to legal review.
You don't think
Yeah,
number 6 was?
I don't think, if I take a look at that motion, that's the motion that we passed, as written.
Well, I was under the impression it was subject to legal review. We passed it.
I believe Peter's correct.
Yes, I'm looking at my handwritten, I have notes said pending legal review, so I will make a motion, I will modify the minutes to say pending legal review.
Well, have we done that?
No. Have we done that, Jimmy? You're the chair, have
But
you?
we will as soon as this meeting is over. Because today's Thursday, he should be over there, so I'll go
Do you have
over
an
there.
appointment with him? I guess, okay. So I'll make a modification to accept the minutes on May 23rd as modified.
Have a second to that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0-0. Thank you. Okay, we have pending minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, it says that. On
Yeah.
page 4, increase for any bedroom in excess of 3 bedrooms pending legal review.
Oh, yeah, there it is, I'm sorry, you're right.
So it's there.
Okay, so no amendment needed.
So I withdraw my motion.
I'll second that.
Call my second.
Then I
Okay.
make a motion to accept the 5:23:24 minutes as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you for finding that.
Yes, aye.
I appreciate that. Okay, another, this is a paperwork clear-up, like a motion to authorize the chair and the vice chair the ability to sign the sewer bills so that they can be paid.
I make a motion that we authorize the chair and the vice chair to sign all pending sewer bills.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. And now I would like to poke Sarah a little and give us a project update, please.
Absolutely, yeah, thank you. So for the design, correct, the current upcoming headwork clarifier project, correct? So the status of that is out to bid currently. And we will be seeking, so the bid opening will be for the general contractor, will be July 10th. And so the way, at that time, right, all bids will be publicly read aloud and open. And we will, so at that time, you'll know the apparent low bidder, who is likely going to be recommended to be, who's going to be selected. And then the next day, we will, after reviewing to make sure everything's in order, we'll provide that as confirmation and recommendation. I believe July 11th, there is a sewer commission meeting.
Correct.
And so we are looking for, starting to lay the groundwork and answer any questions you have in terms of, at that time, we'll be looking for approval from the sewer commission that the contract can be awarded to the low bidder.
It's for both projects together, or which project? Both of them?
It's for the $36 million
So it's for
project.
both of them, clarifiers and headworks,
That is
together
correct.
as
Correct.
one project?
Correct, it's one project, yes.
And on the 11th, you're going to be looking for a vote for us to accept, authorize, and proceed.
Correct, correct.
That's what it is. 11th of July.
Is that our scheduled meeting?
Yeah,
Is there a chance we can see,
yeah, we'll have it before then.
we will have a chance to see the documents before we support the low bid?
What documents are you looking for?
The
Don't you-
contract.
I would like to see the contract before I approve it.
You'll have-
Can I suggest, so we pulled together a, what we call a bid tabulation. It is a summary of all the bidders and what they have put on, what they have bid for the project. And that is, a nice, simple worksheet that indicates what all the bids were, and the contractors.
Okay,
And then that will be, we'll pull that together in the afternoon after the bid opening. And again, because of the time frame, right, the bid opening is on 2 p.m. on July 10th. And so we can spend that afternoon pulling that together and provide it first thing via email to the board, July 11th.
are we meeting, are we
The meeting on the
continuing to
11th.
meet at 2 o'clock, or
The 11th would be, what,
6:30? So we will have Thursday day to
okay.
review it?
That's correct.
Sandy, let me
Oh, sorry.
interject here for a second.
Apologies.
Sarah, would you just update them on the reason it's this short of run? Because we've had to extended the bid process by a couple of weeks because of the information that came into you.
Correct. So the general contractor bid opening is being extended by 2 weeks. We've received a series, numerous requests from bidders, and we've determined that it would benefit the town for the bidders to have more time with the documents to be able to put together a good bid. And so that is the reason at which it will be on July 10th. And concurrently, we'll be asking for, the town will be asking for an extension, another extension from the DEP, from the state. And so the reason that the time frame is so short is because we need to be able to, after the bids are opened, we need to be able to award the contract within a duration of time to meet the state funding deadline requirements.
And the state has already, just so that they're aware, that the state has already allowed us to extend the bidding by 2 weeks because of the info.
Yeah, so the current deadline from the state will be requested to be extended by the town. The DEP is indicated that this is something that we can do at this time.
Is there a
Yes.
date?
Yes, it will be requested for August 23rd. So, and that, of course, extension request will come from the town manager and go to the DEP. And so the reason we're looking for an approval from the Sewer Commission on July 11th is due to the nature of the time frame it takes to get approval from the state to award the contract, then the contractor to sign all the contract documents, and then the town to sign all the contract
So
documents.
8/23 is the drop-dead date for us to get some funding to support this project.
It's the drop-dead date to have a signed agreement with the
Just
contractor.
to sign, is there funds available? I mean, is there a deadline for getting assistance, fund addition?
That is
Am I
the
missing something?
So that is the deadline. The deadline is, the funding agency says you must sign up the contract documents by a certain time, otherwise we will not give you the loan.
Okay,
And that's that date.
so it's about the loan, not any additional grants or anything like that?
That's correct, about this loan that was approved in the town meeting. And, so yeah, we will provide a bid tabulation for your review for that day of, for approval of moving forward with that, awarding the contract from your board. So project updates, does that, can I also touch on the change, or the time extension change order that's in your packet? As
Time extension.
as part of, that's another
Yep.
project update.
Number 4.
Yep. So another project update, the last construction project for the EQ Basin 5 and the additional denitrification filters, that construction is now complete, and we are working on getting you final documents, record documentation, and O&M manual. And in order to do so, we just need a time extension, no monetary extension of the contract, just time extension to the end of June, so we can deliver those final documents to you all.
I make a motion that we approve the change order number 4 from GHD for the engineering for WPCF improvements Phase 1.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anything else?
No, not unless you have any other questions about any of the project updates.
Anybody? Sandy, Peter,
What's that?
any other questions for Sarah?
No?
Thank you.
Back to the beach. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
So note that the CWL, Charlie Lombardi will be in attendance at the June 27th meeting to discuss his final report, and he will be providing a copy of that report, I believe, the middle of next week, for everybody to have a chance to review it prior to the meeting.
Will that be online? We can download it ourselves?
I will ask him if he can put it online.
Okay.
You want that? Not a problem. Okay.
Or have copies available to be
Yeah.
picked up in the office,
Yeah,
because
well,
that's stuff
that's
to print.
probably what I'll have him do, is have available, but he can also put it online, I think, if you want to download it yourself, but I'll have him do the ones in
Too
the
much paper
office.
and ink.
Don't print anything from your other committees, and then you won't have a problem.
Okay.
Okay. Resolutions from the workshop. We have one resolution that we have come up with to have a motion for a vote on.
I make a motion that we lift the existing sewer moratorium for residential properties effective 6/13/24.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 300. Okay, thank you.
Now, with that, I would like to work on those that have requested a sewer hookup, and we vote on each one of them independent, so that there is a record as what we are approving for release.
Is that necessary?
Yes.
For what reason?
Who else, how are we going to tell them their moratorium has been relieved and they can now use it? If we don't put it in the record.
I believe Scott will do that.
Okay, Scott, do you have a list of who we've talked about? I would like to confirm it, that we are talking about the same groups on the same page. Am I wrong?
No, they
you
would be
prefer-
included on it all.
Would it help you if I list who we approved?
I
Who we
mean,
authorized?
Does it make,
I guess the biggest issue is, do we have their contact information?
I'm sure it would have been part of our minutes at that time.
I wouldn't swear to that one.
Well, it's hard to,
No.
okay,
How hard is it, is it possible to post something on the website and/or town?
but who's to tell Steve to go on the website and see that we've approved 20 Depot Street? I mean, that type of
Who's Steve? Sorry.
Bushman, who's done the, who's doing the Gibbs Ave project, who's doing 20 Depot.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's this type of thing. I really do believe we should put in our minutes who we are including in this release of the moratorium. I mean, if you don't think it's necessary, Jimmy, then I won't
Well,
mention it.
my only question is, what we're doing here is we're lifting the moratorium
All residential.
on all residential.
residential.
On
All
all
residential.
residential.
Okay,
Which includes them.
Is that residential?
yes.
Okay, that's all residential. They're included in this.
And I strongly recommend we put it in the minutes who we are specifically releasing the moratorium on. That's my, if you,
If you do that, are you only releasing the moratorium to those people?
because they have come before us and we denied them their hookup because of the moratorium.
Okay, so now the moratorium is lifted. Therefore, they are approved.
You want them
All
to be
right,
notified.
I really want them listed in the minutes. If you
If
can
you
say,
list, my question to you is, if you list them, are you limiting the lifting the moratorium to just them?
no, no, anybody who comes for us from this point on would be lifted.
You just want to read that off and put it in the minutes.
I want it in the minutes that these people we denied them their hookup.
Well, then just read it off, put it in the minutes, and that's it. We don't need to
Well,
vote.
that's what I'm asking
we
for, and
need to
I don't
vote
know
on
why I'm
anything.
getting such a,
I mean, we don't need to vote on anything.
all right.
There's no vote
But I'm just
necessary
asking
there.
that it be included in the minutes, and you two are giving me a
Okay,
tough
well,
time
I
about it.
couldn't understand what you were talking about, that's why. Because it sounded like you were trying to get a vote on each one individually, and that's not necessary.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
January 25th, 2024, we included 20 Depot Street for 880 gallons. On February 22nd, 24, we, 2 East Boulevard for 240 gallons. 3/14/24, 15 Narrows Road for 220 gallons. 4/11, 15 Gibbs Ave for a total of 5280 gallons. But on March 28th, we talked about off Broad Street with no gallons being given.
And that is one of those locations where it's off Broad Street. His people in front of him all had stubs, but the road, Broad Street goes behind those
So-
people. So now he can lay
He
his
can
own
now
line
hook
out.
up, but we just don't know how many gallons he's requesting. But we do have it, if it's more than 3 bedrooms, it's 1.2 EDU and stuff like that. So that is the pending list that I have recorded since the moratorium was formed. I just wanted it in the minutes.
Okay, so that's in the minutes.
Precise.
Done. Perfect. Okay,
So basically, we're lifting the moratorium,
for everybody.
including these houses.
Including
Right,
these that we had
including
denied
those.
earlier.
Fine.
Okay.
Make the motion that way then.
Well,
It doesn't need to be
We
one.
already left,
You don't need
the
one.
motion was left to lift the moratorium as a 613 on residential, and the vote, we voted, right? 300.
Yeah. Exactly.
Will you be sending an email to the town administrator saying our moratorium's been lifted?
I will do that, but I'll also take a walk over there and see him now, as soon as this is over.
Because we gave them the letter saying we've put in a moratorium
Yeah, no,
in place, we
I
need a
will
letter
send a
to
letter that it's been lifted.
formally, so it goes all over,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's lifted for
Building inspector.
residential, so it's residential only.
Well,
It's lifted residential only. Any commercial will come before us, before
Oh.
anything happens.
that's
But
exactly what I was about to ask.
And now we have the auspicious time frame for the director.
Well, again, we continue to make improvements at the plant, and the team is really just pulling together really well, and they're working very hard. We did just last week get our new bookkeeper up and running. She's fantastic. I think it's, again, the overall team at the plant is really coming together, so couldn't be happier. We did have an odor issue over the weekend. There was good reason for that. It was over pretty quick, but there was tanks that needed to be moved to our outside EQ tank. So it was raw sewage exposed to the atmosphere that had been sitting for quite a while. So there was an odor issue. We've implemented our strategy to keep the odors down. It has worked. We have a lot of lift stations now that actually have multiple pumps working for the first time in a long time, so that's been good, rather than just sitting on one waiting for it to fail, so kind of excited about that. And the system overall is working very well. We did have a bit of a phosphorus spike, but we've got it back down. We changed the location of where we put our polyaluminum chloride to keep it down, so the system's operating as it should.
Well, I know-
Pollen doesn't affect anything other than turning everything yellow?
No, there's really not a lot of nutrient capacity to it. It doesn't do much. But it does make everything yellow.
do you have anything else, Scott?
No, not this week.
Okay. Thank you. Just an FYI and unanticipated. I received a note from Alan regarding grant opportunities for the Buzzards Bay watershed infrastructure. And I talked with GHD about this and whether or not it's something that needs to be or can be of any benefit to us. They're looking into it. One of the items they discovered that may well be of benefit, they're researching it a little further and will let us know where and what and if. But that's just an FYI. And also under the FYI, it's just in case anybody's questioning why we're meeting today at 2 o'clock instead of the 1 o'clock that was proposed, is our agenda was forwarded to the appropriate spot, the town hall. For some reason, it got missed, didn't get posted in time, and had to send a revision, and they posted it then so that we could make this time. But
And
that was not, had nothing to do with the handling from the sewer department or the personnel there. It was the other end.
And if yesterday, the agenda was not on the town website under the agenda minutes page, and it's now been I'm just telling you, I've asked them, and it's now been corrected, it's up.
Okay.
Submitted all of the minutes from, what do we have? 2, 4, 6, 8 set of minutes, and they have been posted on the town website under
Good.
minutes. So we are now current with all of our sewer minutes, including November 23.
Ouch.
So they're all there now.
Thank you. I didn't realize that. I knew there was a problem with the agenda yesterday, but we got that straightened out finally.
Yep.
So it depended on when you went online to look for yesterday, for this agenda, and when you actually found
Well,
it.
I went in town hall on Wednesday morning, and it was on the bulletin board, and I said, it's not in the town. Oh, but it's on the calendar. The calendar doesn't give us the agenda. So they worked, the clerks and worked with IT, and it's now been posted for everybody to see it in the agenda portion of our
Who's on
website.
first? Okay.
When's the next meeting?
Next meeting is the 27th of June,
At,
6:30. Is that what it is? 6:30, yeah.
in room 520.
Affirmative.
Well, anything else?
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting at 3:01.
Do I have a second, Peter?
So we're not going to do anything with the EDUs?
It was a discussion, there was nothing there to vote on. What, did you think, what would you like to vote on for the
Well,
EDUs?
have you looked at that EDU schedule from 96?
No. We had, the agenda for the workshop didn't talk about reviewing our existing EDU schedule. That should probably be another workshop.
It will be so separate by itself, because that's going to be a football
Yes,
and a
a
half.
major, yep.
Is the motion on the floor for adjournment?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.